All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm super excited. This is the Modern American Dream podcast. We are interviewing my friend. She is an entrepreneur. She has a lot of dynamic sides to her, all that we're going to discuss today. She has a pretty big following, and I think she's even a certified coach and instructor, and probably can help you in some way or another bridge the gaps to make you be a more successful person, a more powerful person, and just the goal is to share her knowledge so you could live a better life. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for such an amazing introduction, Dave. That was
Oh,
amazing.
yeah. My introductions are off the cuff. I try to read a little about people, but I just say what I say. So the way we met is through Keller Williams. We take this bold class, and I was in a class with your husband, Matt. Matt, hello, what's up, my friend? And I don't know that you were in there that day, those particular times, but I've seen you so many times, and I've known of you. I've known a lot. The reason I wanted you on the show now is because I really think that I always ask people to be on the show all the time, and I really think that I've been seeing you making a push for putting yourself out there to help people really become more of themselves, which I love that. I think that's what I do as well. So can you give us a little bit of introduction, your background, who are you? Give us like a quick, like bring us to speed. I know like there's a lot of things you could say, but what should the people know about you?
So yes, I'll keep it quick and simple. Really, you introduced me perfectly as far as a background with entrepreneurship. I'm an immigrant from Korea. My family has created the life of what you call the American dream. So I love your title of the modern American dream, and I want to discuss that a little bit further. But yes, came here for the American dream, and I'm so thankful and proud of what my parents have created. And what they've created was a lot of hard work and through a lot of sacrifices, right? And I'm so grateful for all of that. So fast forward, as an adult, again, growing up and being raised in an entrepreneur world or small businesses, we got to take that term entrepreneur and really, really define it, because I think a lot of people get into the entrepreneur world, and in fact, they go in because it looks sexy and they want the time and they want the freedom. And in fact, they end up in prison bars between having multiple jobs, wearing so many different hats, working so many hours, and really driving themselves into the ground. I mean, I don't know if anybody of your audiences can relate to that, but that was definitely me, right?
That's me too.
For a small business owner, I own all my stuff, and I was drowning in literally working and doing this and juggling that. So then fast forward, I got again into real estate to diversify. And then my husband and I fell in love with the industry, and we went kind of vertical in it. And what I mean by that, we started out as investors. So we started purchasing, passive income properties. Then we got into fixing and flipping. Okay. Then the sales came at the very end of it. And I started to do sales I joined Keller Williams actually the end of 2016. That's when I really started to do the sales. And 2017 was a great year, and it was really to leave our dry cleaning business that we had owned and operated for 13 years at that time. And then I became a team leader in 2018. And so I was really a producer in the agent world for a very short amount of time. And then I became a team leader. And that's when I started to really expand, because as a team lead role, I was so grateful for the opportunity. It was such an amazing opportunity. And I was working with a lot of the top agents in our market center, as well as other brokerages that we were trying to recruit. And I realized a couple things. First and foremost, these top agents knew how to sell houses better than I did. But what I realized where my gifts really came was to be able to help them tap into their inner self, be able to see things differently, be able to expand their mind, open their minds up in the ways that they lived, and build wealth. And so one thing led into another. And next thing you know, I got into kind of the coaching space where my husband and I are both in now. And really, we're here to share our knowledge and our experience and our gifts that we were, given, and really help light people up so that they can live the free life, the modern American dream.
The
Like,
modern American
what
dream.
is that translation of the modern American dream for you?
Well, the reason I named the show The Modern American Dream is because, like, you have the American dream, right? Which is pretty well known. Well, I call it the Modern American Dream because I moved to the United States when I was 9, right? My mother passed away from breast cancer before that. I had very little guidance, and I was like a troubled youth, we'll say. And then I turned out to be, like, I have some investments, not the biggest, definitely not the smallest. And I believe life is tough. I believe there's a lot of opportunities. And the reason it's the modern American dream, because this is a modern situation. I see so many people that have come to this country and have worked their ass off, and it being like the first generation or the second generation or the third. And I try to figure out, like, what are they doing differently? I compare myself a lot to, I'll say, oh, wow, that family has been here for 4 generations. That's probably what my grandkids will be doing, right? This family is just starting out. And I try to bridge the gap for people and just to show them, like, look, it's a melting pot, right? Everybody, you can source the lineage to some other country that your family came here from, and that's like the modern American dream, right? You're here and you get to do all this cool stuff, right? You get to go from being broke to being no joke, and you get to be able to pay your bills, and then if you're lucky, right, you get to share that. And that's what we're doing here, So, like, when you came, were you born in Korea and
So
then
no,
came here?
I was actually 6 years old, and my brother was 9 at the time.
When you came to the United States? All right, so I was 9 when I came here. So where did you move to? Like, what was the city?
So I was 6 years old. My brother was 9, and it was kind of funny. When we came, it was everybody on my mother's side of the family. So it was her and her 5 siblings and my grandparents. So her,
Okay.
and this is the wicked cool thing. It was cool for me, anyways. My perception behind it, because my mother, right, was one of 6 children who were four girls in the family and 2 boys.
Yep.
And all of their spouses and their kids all came. So in a country where a lot of the times, especially when we came back in 1985, it was still very much dominant by the men, right? And still is. But at the end of the day, to know, like, even my father left everyone he knew, like all of his family members in 85. And I don't know about your family, but I know when my family came, it literally was this whole thing, like, we're going to America. And I remember being so confused as a little kid. Even to back up a little bit, David, I remember my mother telling me when I was 4 years old in Korea, she said, we're going to America. And I said, we're going where? And she said, we're going to America. And she said, but we can't take you and your brother. We're going to go to America to create a new future for us. And I'll make sure I send you a lot of candy. Well, she said this at the time because what do kids like? Candy, right?
Yeah.
And I remember that moment, and I bawled my eyes out. And I was so much in fear. And I said to my mom, I said, Mom, I don't want candy. I want you with me. Like, I don't want you leaving me.
Yeah.
Needless to say, my mom didn't have the courage or the heart to leave my brother and I. So we ended up in Korea 2 extra years before our entire rest of the family came. And the coolest thing, her 2 brothers actually came to the United States and kind of did a cross country and traveled the United States to find a place for us to land. And they actually landed in Massachusetts. They landed in Massachusetts. We ended up in a triple decker in Chelsea on the 3rd floor. And there was like 25 of us crammed up in a 3rd floor. Like,
no,
family had 1 room to share.
No, that's crazy.
That's
Like, there wasn't 25 of us, but I know we lived with our aunt in their apartment when we initially got here. That's pretty crazy, right? So nobody owned that place, and now you have real estate, right? You have I think, commercial real estate, residential real estate. You've done flips. You have your own house, right? Which is pretty amazing. So, like, how did you get to being in business in general? Like, what was that journey for you to go, okay, I'm a business person? Did you always have it? Did you see your parents work hard? So you're like, I got to work hard. How did that come about?
Just so you know, we could have like 15 podcasts because there's a lot of lessons in life. I've learned.
Yeah, you could come back anytime.
I've learned a lot of things, but I want to really hit upon American Dream really quick. So I remember the story being about American Dream of like, you own a house, you have 2.5 kids, you have the white picket fence, you have a dog, right? That's what people kind of aspire that magazine look.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer that's no longer the American Dream. I'm a huge believer that the new American Dream is time and financial freedom, right? And the ability to really know that we have this, ability to really just experience whatever it is that we want to experience and live the life that we want to live, you know? And the reason why I brought that up is because, so when you said, how did you get into that entrepreneur space? Well, as a kid, I watched my parents and us as a family. My parents literally would work about 20 hours a day for almost 2 decades. And so all I saw was my parents working, busting their butt, working, saving, working. So all I ever wanted as a kid growing up was to really have massive success. For whatever reason, I had this vision in my mind that my massive success would end up in like the city somewhere, New York City, like on a skyscraper, like just owning businesses and all of these things and whatnot, because my biggest burning desire was to honor my parents' sacrifices for the hard work that they did so that I could help create a legacy and create a generational legacy, right? So that I could honor them.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward, I'll tell you, I went to my parents, wanted me to go and become a doctor, a lawyer, attorney, like a lot of Asian parents. And at the time, I didn't want to go to school. School was not something that I really wanted and loved to, go to, but I wanted the money, right? I wanted the success. So I did some research and I found out that I was going to Northeastern. Kids that graduated with management information degree, systems degree, would graduate with about $150,000 sign-on bonuses and about $150,000 annual pay. So my thought process at that time was like, all right, I'm going to pick that as a major and I'm going to study that because if I do that in 5 years, I'll come out, I'll get a bonus. All I know is that I need to get into a good company and then I'm good, right?
Yeah.
So I start that in 97. I graduate in 2002. Okay. So this is where my lessons, I want to say, don't chase the money, chase your passion. The money follows, because I graduated in 2002 where there was a hiring freeze in all the companies. The degree I studied for was completely saturated and the silicone industry just kind of bursted. So nobody was looking for management information systems at the time and everybody had, right?
You're thinking you're coming out getting 150 grand and nothing?
Nothing. No one
I don't
is
mean
hiring.
to laugh, but that's crazy.
No one is hiring completely. This is after 2001. And no lie, all the companies were on a freeze because they didn't know where the world was going to end up, right? So where did I end up my first job after college? A door-to-door sales company, 100% commission, to literally go knock on people's doors.
Wow. What were you selling?
Glorified coupons, right? It was the marketing. I mean, it was a brilliant marketing because you had somebody knocking on people's doors. So it was like a live commercial. And what you essentially sold was a quote unquote coupon package or whatever you call it, but it got people in through the doors. Like, for example, let's say they spent $100 on something, they would get their money back in the first 2 times, and then it would increase the sales for the business, whatever businesses we were representing. And we have Fortune 500 companies such as like, some Blockbusters, all these different chains or whatever, as well as local mom and pop stores. The marketing was brilliant, but let me tell you, I'm going to repeat, door-to-door sales, like Monday through Saturday, rain, snow, sleet, or hail, it didn't matter, you were out there.
Ugh, it sucks.
Do you know where the gifts were?
What?
I met my husband there.
You met your husband doing door-to-door sales? Like you knocked on his door, maybe?
He actually was the assistant manager of the company.
Oh, wow,
And he expanded to North Shore, and I went with him to help him expand. At that point in time, believe me, I was not looking for a relationship, and he's got funny stories to tell on his perspective and his side. But I was not looking for a relationship because, like I said, David, like my goal was to create success in my career, and marriage and kids was not something that was like a priority on in my mind. So I literally helped him expand, coming from South Shore to the North Shore to Connecticut to New York, right? So we expanded, and along the journey, we ended up, getting involved and eventually married and whatnot. But let me tell you,
couple girls, right? You have a couple girls.
So blessed to have two daughters, 12 and 10.
Yeah.
But not only that, you learn a lot when you speak to anywhere between 60 to 100 and 20 different people in all different types of neighborhoods for 2+ years.
You learn a lot. What would you say like some top learnings were from just that experience?
People. Okay, so
all right.
From a face of understanding some form of sales, like my family has always been in sales, so I've always been around people, but it magnified how much I learned about people. People have about 10 different characteristics and a combination of them, and then expansion of them. So I got really good at reading people, understanding people. Also, this phenomena that the media plays, and the fact that people are mean and strangers are bad. No,
you don't see it that way.
People are amazing. They want to care. They want to be loved. They want to feel good. That's what people are. People at heart are good people. Yeah. If we come across and we label them as not good or whatever, it's the situation and circumstances, right? It's, I believe, a lot of times not a fault of their own, but they're product of the environment or certain thought process or learning behaviors or trauma that they had to deal with. But at the end of the day, I'm a believer that people are genuinely great people. Good
people. I believe that too. I think that for sure, when my personal, I relate everything to my life experience, but when my personal experience was like my circle was bad, I was kind of mimicking my circle. Like I was just one, birds of a feather flock together. It's one of my favorite sayings that I love from hearing it so many times. But I think that generally speaking, you become the company you keep. So you always have to be like a guard at your door I get it, people don't want to be absolutely mean and rude, but you also can't have people like that in your life at the time when they're being that way, right? Because that energy ends up being a part of you as well. So it's like a catch-22. But I also do believe most people are good, right? The way we got to where we got is somebody out there somewhere kind of helped you along, either with advice, or I also believe like if you're the best version of you, right? There are people that are just looking at you. They see you, they go, she did it? How the hell? I can do it, right? They'll look at me. He did it? Oh, I could certainly do it. And I think where people forget is you think you want to be this like grand person. You want to be the most famous, the most popular. But if you really think about it, if you just be the best version of yourself, the people that are looking at you will benefit from that, right? You're going to help other people just like be better versions of themselves by you simply pursuing your life's passions, right? Do you agree with that?
150 million %. And I think, a lot of people usually live an unconscious, competent life until you become aware, or you start having those questions and asking great questions to yourself.
Yeah.
And this is where I really want to, provide value and help people. The truth of the matter is, there's laws of the universe that we all live by, right? And when we can get to really understanding that and live in harmony with the laws of the universe, it's so simple and easy. And what do I mean by that? When you said birds of a feather flock together, it's literally because of the fact that we're all vibrational beings. Everything on the planet is constantly in motion. And whatever my vibration is, which is energy, by the way, energy is vibration, is frequency. It's all the same, but everything is energy. And depending on the vibration is the frequency that we're on. And the frequency that we're on, Dave, is exactly what we're attracting. So everything that every human is experiencing in their reality is actually everything that they've attracted. There is no coincidence. There is no mistake. It doesn't happen by chance. It doesn't happen by accident. So the reason why, when we focus on becoming the best version of ourselves, and we literally just focus on that, we're going to always attract.
Have you put that into practice in your own life? And have you always done it? Did you learn to do it? And like when you coach and talk to people, depends on, I guess, where they are, right? Some people are more elevated than others, right? Because of the work they put in. How do you tell people to start on like that journey for themselves?
First, make a decision,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, like this.
You don't create our future. It's two things. Decisions and habits create our future. So first, make a decision that you want something different. And within that decision, give yourself permission to stay open and open-minded and open-hearted, right?
Yeah,
so first, make a decision that you want something different. I'll be honest with you. I lived an unconscious, competent life probably for 4 decades. I came across some material that literally changed my life, which is exactly why I'm on a mission to teach this to everybody that I know. Right. And that all happened literally back in 2019, October of 2019. I just started to take a course. And that course is something that I'm teaching today. It's called Think It Into Results. And literally started to study. And that one thing, me studying that, led to another thing, and another thing. Right. So I'm on a continuous journey of study. And really, the truth of the matter is, as we study and as we open up, all the people and places and things are everything that I'm always creating and attracting. Always. So to say, have I always thought this way? Absolutely not. I wish I knew, I wish I knew. However, I'm also a believer that everything happens at the time that it's supposed to happen. And like the teacher always comes when the student is ready. Right, Dave?
Yeah, the teacher. Those damn teachers don't show up before you're ready. Kind of sucks.
And the teacher shows up in many different forms. Right? It could be my child. It could be my parent. It could be a stranger. It could be a book that I pick up. It could be a podcast that I listen to. The teacher shows up in many forms, but they never show up until we're ready.
Until we're ready. And there's many forms of teachers. I really like that mindset. I feel like you can literally learn from anyone all the time. Well, what have you been doing, or what do you do in your personal life, right, to A, get the proper knowledge, and B, to fight off this thing, like there's a positive, negative energy everywhere, to fight off this like negative energy, or this, I talk to people a lot where they say they're like really in their own head. I think personally I have a pretty clear head, but I've known I've worked really hard to try to like not let life things get to me, right? So what would you tell somebody who is really just like has all these mental anchors, we'll call them, right? Like, I don't want to say they're blockages, because there's not really a block big enough that you can't get through, but there's anchors that are holding you down, and you have to let go. Like, what do you say to people that think that way?
That's a great question. So really, this is a paradigm or a norm that I would love to create for the masses. Mm-hmm. And that's get a coach. Join masterminds, join communities, because for whatever reason, we as humans have been kind of programmed to figure things out on our own, do things on our own. Like, think about the American program for a second. The American program, for the most part, and of course there's variations of it, is you're born, you go to school, you go to college, right? You go to college, you might get a bachelor's, master's, PhD, the whole 9 yards. Then you get a job. Then you work your entire life, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever that looks like, 40, 50 years, in the hopes that you retire with enough money to finally live the life you want to live.
It's too long.
it's a screwed up program, and it no longer applies in the day in the world that we get to live in. It no longer applies, yet so many people are still operating from that program. So my biggest mission here is to teach two things, very simple. If people understood energy and paradigms, they would literally have the keys to the kingdom, their kingdom, to create whatever it is that they want to, because we as humans were actually born as creators. We're born as creators, right?
We're born as creators, like we have the ability to decide this is what I want, and we have the magical ability to actually, it shows up in the physical form, right?
You hit it perfectly. So there's scientists and theologians that disagree on so many things, but the one thing that they've agreed on for so long, forever, is that thoughts become things. We become what we think about most of the time. And you know what's beautiful, Dave?
Yeah.
I literally think it's so beautiful that I get to be alive in this day and age, right? To be able to experience where science and theology are coming together, and there's technology that provides the evidence behind the theologists, right? Yeah. And I'm so in love with everything that's happening, because now we get to really educate people and give them the keys to the freedom, start unlocking themselves from the invisible prison bars that they don't even realize that it's been placed on them. And again, no fault of their own, because I didn't realize I was living in prison bars for 40 years, right? So again, so when you ask, what do? Study. Get coaches, join communities and masterminds. And for me, my morning and nighttime routine are critical and vital, right?
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Believer, I create in spirit and experience.
You create in spirit?
Everything is an energy. So I want to break down the simple, basic science.
Okay, let's hear it.
Take something, a cell, right? Mm-hmm. The smallest form, an atom, and you look under a microscope and you look, you will see and know that 99.999% of everything is just space. 0.00001% of it is actually matter, the physical, which means everything that we as humans experience in the physical world is literally the last piece that we've already created in the energy world.
Oh, I agree. And even if people wanted to create a bigger physical world, you know, I always joke with my brother, and we talk about, like, wow, can you believe everything that we actually wanted at one point we have, like, everything we wanted, we literally have. It's insane. But getting to this point, like, you almost can't see that you're going to get it, you know, like year 1, year 2, year 3, but then year 10, you have everything you dreamt of. The only question becomes is, like, could you have dreamt bigger, not just for yourself, but so you can help, like, so it would be big enough for others as well, you know, like, if you're going to be the conduit to bring it through you, right? Oh, let it come through me, so you can share, right? You could think even a little more elevated.
I love it. It's something that I say all the time. We should be creating our goals as fantasies and dreams and really stretching the way that we think. Like, think about what Elon Musk is doing for humankind, right? Because he's so out there stretching the way that he thinks, he's actually uplifting and raising human consciousness. So I'm a huge believer that it's every human's rightful duty to become as rich as possible. And what I mean by rich, it's money and physical and wealth and health and all of it, but expand our being as big as we can dream. Because just like you said, when we're looking at whatever it is that we want to accomplish, we can't see all the dots. If we knew how to get there, Dave, we would already be there. So it's not our job to know how to get there. It's not our job. Yeah. It's our job to really give ourselves permission to say what it is that we want. What type of life do we want to have? What type of lifestyle we want to live? And just like you mentioned, because when the way that the how show up is the things that we get to enjoy. It's the magic. It's us co-creating within and being in, harmony with the laws of the universe. And like you mentioned, when you look back, How cool is it? Everything needed to happen in the order that it had to happen in order for you to understand and know exactly what it's beautiful.
It's amazing.
It's so beautiful. It's so amazing. So can you imagine if every human stretched their thinking and being, because we've also been programmed that money's bad, rich people are bad. Like, how many people do you coach or do you know that want to be rich but hate rich people?
Yeah, and whether it's subconscious, unconscious, or conscious, it's there, right? I know I used to have the same thing, and it's like this level of uncomfortability, right? They may want all these things if we're talking finances and physical, like great things, right? But then they have this guilt, weird guilt trip, like I don't deserve it, or something to that effect. And that to me, I mean, I used to have it too, I suppose, but that to me is kind of a crazy thing, and you really have to overcome that, because it's just like, why don't you deserve it? I don't know. There is no good answer.
It's so wild because you hit it right on the head, right? What I find, there's a lot of traumas that we as humans hold on to, and I do a lot of energy work. So in energy, there is no past, present, or future. It's all in the now moment. And as our, so we're energy before we enter our body. And when we enter our body, it's all these cells that make us up. And we have an intellect and a physical, right? Well, every cell contains data. Every cell in our body contains data and information. And every cell has a positive and a negative side to it. Right? So it contains data, and a lot of that data are traumas or programs that we're not even aware that exist inside of us. And it's no fault of our own or our ancestors or anyone, because everyone did the best that they can with the level of awareness that they have. Right. And again, I'm actually so grateful for all the sacrifices of the humans that went through all of that to create the world that we get to live in. And now that we know and we're connected and the world is getting smaller, let's really pass this information to everyone so that we co-create a world that is filled with abundance and health, relationships and, wealth, all of it, because it blows my mind. And you said it. Nothing on this earth was ever created or destroyed. Nothing came in and nothing left. All the greatness that exists on this planet is because people desired more. So let's give everybody the permission, desire more. When I get my private jet on that leather chair, guess what? Do you know how many mouths that leather chair will feed? Right? All the way down to the farmers, all the way down to the people that had to build the fences for the farm, the people that provided the food for the animals. Like, when we want more and we want to experience more and have more and be more, it helps everyone.
Everyone. Going to that, like, what are some goals that you want to accomplish, and like, where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years? And like, what have been some of your bigger accomplishments that maybe you surprised yourself with?
So I will share with you, before I actually took the class, I told you in 2019, my husband and I decided to start studying together. And it's wild because that was in 2019, so less than 4 years ago. We had like 3 streams of income, right? And now, again, this is not to impress anyone, just to impress on people that if I can do it, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. But we started with 3 streams of income, and now we're up to 23 streams of income.
Wow, no way. That's crazy.
We've expanded, right? We've grown, we've bought multiple houses. Our portfolio keeps growing. We're actually invested into many different industries. Can I tell you, my biggest reward? My marriage, my family, my relationship with my children. When we start giving ourselves permission to tap into our insight and really start studying and start living in harmony with the laws of the universe, it's my family.
Let's talk about that. Like, what advice would you have for relationship? Like, what do you think brings so much joy from it for you specifically? Like, what would you tell somebody who is looking for that kind of stuff?
I know that there's some bad relationships out there, and I don't want people to stay in a relationship that's really hurting them. But a lot of times when people are talking and complaining about the relationship, it's usually not the other person, it's themselves. And it's a reflection and a mirror thing that's happening. So everything that they're getting triggered by is being triggered by the closest people around them. And what I mean by that is, what is your best advice? Work on yourself first, right?
Ooh.
Like that is the number one thing, is work on yourself and then give the other person grace. Like I didn't realize I was actually suppressing my husband and getting frustrated with him on these little things that didn't matter because I wasn't happy with my life.
Right.
One
Change your thoughts, change your world, right?
Right. Even before I started this, I'm going to give a shout out to a coach from MAPS coach. His name was Tim Beverland. Love the guy. And I was on a coaching call with him. I'll never forget it because it was one of the most powerful things. And I was on a coaching call with him and he asked me, he said, Yun, who gets the best version of you?
Who gets the best version of you? That was the question.
And it hit me like a ton of rock, like it boulder, because I wanted to say my husband and my children.
Yeah.
I wanted to. I couldn't. You know who got the best version of me? My clients or people that I like literally. And I was
everyone else.
Everyone else. And by the time I got home, I was exhausted, tired, looking at dishes, looking at this. And then I would lose my attitude because my kids were not behaving. My husband wasn't putting things back, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't them, it was me.
Who gets the best version of you? Wow, what a good question.
That's when things started to really shift for me because I was like, wow, I want to say my husband and my children and I can't say it. So who do I need to become?
Wow, that makes sense. You know, I think like sometimes we forget, especially when you're trying to go and accomplish so much, there's people like right there that are so close to you and like you forget to give them your best version, which is absolutely crazy, right? You should probably prioritize that, or maybe do some, oh yes, I did that Tony Robbins thing. Right. And change your state and just like show up for the closest people in your life. Because what I realized is this: if you have bad relationships, with the most intimate people in your life, that is more draining when you go out into the world. You feel empty. There's an emptiness. But when you cultivate like good relations with the people in your life, that just like fills you up more to do everything. And what I will add to this is the biggest thing I personally learned going to relationships is like, you know, there was a quote, I forget exactly how it went, but it said something like, you deserve the love to give to yourself that you so freely give to other people, right? So like, how can you bring the best version of yourself to a relationship? Because you go and you're like, you have to love me. But the thing is like, you have to accept and learn to love yourself. And then because of that, you show up better for all people in your life, right? Like they say like when the airplane's coming down, you better put your own mask first before you even mask your kids. And it's kind of the same mindset. If you don't have the love for yourself, it's going to be hard to find it from any outside source, right? Because even if they give it to you, it's just not enough. It has to come from within.
It is. It's so true. And you know what's so sad for me?
Yeah.
As I started the journey and I started to really dive in deeper and deeper, I found out that I didn't even know what unconditional love felt like. Dave, I didn't know what unconditional love felt like. And then I realized that most humans don't know what unconditional love feels like. And what do I mean by that? We're so hard on ourselves, right? Like we have to show up this way, that way, or this way. We get so mad at ourselves. We didn't do this, or how come we did this, whatever the case is. And all of that shows up as conditions, like loving yourself when you're this way, that way. And just like you said, it's learning to love all versions of you, right? Most people, and I was doing the same thing, was pouring and giving out to everyone that my cup was so empty. So guess what? I wasn't giving love to myself or the people closest to me that deserved it.
Right.
So here I am running around with an empty cup trying to pour out the cup. And in fact, when we turn it around and we pour that love into ourselves and we literally are just love, it overflows and that love just permeates and now it just radiates everywhere. It radiates everywhere. Like people can feel my love energy from a mile away, right? Because
I think you've definitely, since I've known you, there's probably always in there somewhere, but I definitely think I see in the last few years, you are, I wouldn't know, maybe more open to that acceptance. Like, hey, this is what I am. This is what I'm deciding to go for. And I'm going to be open about it, right? Like that openness is kind of a self-acceptance, you know?
well, that's the hope for everyone because, you know, we've been defined by so many labels. Like I'm a daughter, I'm a mother, I'm a, you know, entrepreneur, I'm a wife, I'm a, you know, businesswoman, whatever, all these different labels. I think it's really time for people to really give themselves permission and say, you know what, you are amazing. You have so many gifts inside of you. You're beyond the name, you're beyond the label, you're actually the creator. You are absolutely, and feel comfortable showing up as their true self, no matter who the audience is. You know, like think about that. How many people put on a different personality, a different mask to show up with their family, with their friends, in front of their clients at the kitchen table when they're signing contracts or showing up for a vendor, whatever. And then next thing you know, they have all these different masks on and they don't even know who they are.
Yeah, yeah. That's that. How do you think people can overcome that or maybe, I don't know, fix it? I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but how can they do that?
Going back, get your coaches, communities, masterminds. I'm always going to say that because I want that to be a norm. If you really think about it, right? Think about athletes, think about actors, actresses, you know, think about all these people that are really, you know, have been very successful. They've all had multiple coaches, right? It was a norm for the coaches. And yet our norm is go to college and get a degree that you may never use. And okay, I believe in colleges, if you want to go in and get your doctor, you know, become a doctor, I really want a doctor to go in and go have the 12 years of experience and have all that experience before they work on me. So I'm excited about that. But if you don't know what you want, right? If you don't know what you want, does it make sense that our system currently is go to school, you know, invest anywhere from $20,000 to $80,000 a year for 4 years, right? And go in and you still don't know. Right? You still don't know. And now you're in a frenzy because now you're in debt, right? You got to figure out how to pay your debt off. And there's a lot of the cycle. And this is why I feel so bad for these younger kids that are coming out because they're really in anxiety and panic because everything that they learned, there are a lot of skill set, but a lot of them are confused because it's not applicable to the current world that we live in.
Yeah, times definitely changed a lot and you have to adjust with them, but it's also learning how to work with the world that we're in, right? Because some things that have been around and some advice that's been around, maybe not as applicable in certain situations of the modern times, right? And you have to make those adjustments. All right, cool. Well,
so can I just hit one more thing really quick? So
just kidding. All right.
Don't focusing on fixing anything. This is another thing that I want people to hear really loud.
Don't focus on fixing anything. All right, let's hear it.
You're not broken.
Ooh, I like that.
There's nothing to fix. This entire life journey is really just a journey for you to discover more of who you are and what you are. So every experience you go through in meeting different people, places, and circumstances expands your world for you to know more of who you are. The things that make you feel good is lining up with more of who you are. The things that don't make you feel good is lining up, letting you know that the polarity of that is what you are. So not to judge others for what they do, because it's okay for others to do what they do, but also observing the world to get to know us more. And the reason why I want to say don't focus on fixing. Our mind is the most powerful thing. And anything we put our mind to, our focus goes, is where the energy flows and it expands, right? So the more that we focus on fixing, the more that the brokenness expands and it grows. So you're not broken. There's nothing to fix. Just give yourself permission and say, what do I want my life to look like? Who do I want to become? And if you can actually see someone or recognize different characters and other people that you would love to have, You can only recognize that because it actually exists inside of you. Everything in your outer world is everything that's happening in your inner world. So you cannot experience or notice or acknowledge anything that's happening externally that's not existing internally. It's just a matter of decision, commitment, and habits.
Decision, commitment, and habits, right? Habits would be, hey, it does take work, right? All the goodness is not just going to fall in your lap. You have to think it, you have to ink it, you have to work towards it. All right, let me ask you this question as we begin to wrap this up a little bit. What is your favorite quote? Do you have one that pops into mind, or what's your favorite quote recently, or what's the first one that pops into your head?
So I have so many, but the one that I'm like loving right now is, you can never get it wrong because you can never get it done.
You can never get it wrong because you can never get it done. What does that mean?
Live your life as a journey of discovery and continuously give yourself permission to expand, right? We are always so worried, like we didn't finish this, we didn't start this, we didn't do this. You can't get it wrong because you're never going to get it done. Your to-do list is never going to go away because once you check that off, you're going to get another to-do list. You're never going to get it done. So you're never going to get it wrong. Just continuously give yourself permission to discover, explore, expand, right? And that's it.
That makes sense.
Because this is usually my favorite quote, because God's greatest gift to us is more talent and abilities than we'll ever use in our lifetime. And our gift to God is to discover as many of those talents and gifts as we can in this lifetime.
Yeah, you gotta go looking, right? Because it's amazing, because so many people have so many different talents and gifts, and if you can never get it all done, it's
right?
More like, hey, just go have fun, go do it. Don't judge yourself like a crazy person, and give yourself some space. You know what I mean? Like, nobody is that perfect, right? And except for maybe me. Just kidding.
Yeah, I love that. You are perfect.
Yeah, right. I'm the perfect version of me, right? Which is what you should accept.
Right.
How can if somebody wants to follow you or support you, how can they follow you? How can they support you? And what are you working on next? What are some of your goals, maybe for your life, for your community, and what you'd want to accomplish? And where can people find you and follow you, or anything you want to share?
So I have a website. You can reach me at right there, Yun at elevatedhumanexperience.com, and that's my number, or check out elevatedhumanexperience.com website. I'm also on Facebook as Yun Rhee, Instagram as Yun Rhee, TikTok, I'm sure that's there too. But yeah, just go to elevatedhumanexperience.com. Right now, currently, I do have a free platform and a subscription membership platform as well. There's a lot of value there as well. We offer a 6-month course. I offer one-on-one coaching. However, there's very limited seats on that as well. Yeah. The next thing that you said is, I've been speaking on stages, having TV appearances, yet my goal is to just continuously go, because one of the things, again, working and focusing on energy and paradigms is really getting in front of massive crowds to help them energetically connect, help them release, so they open up for opportunities, right? Open up for the possibilities, and really teaching people all about energy and paradigms and having fun. It's fun. And I will tell you,
having fun.
Yeah, it's not hard work. The reason why our country is the way that it is about hard work is we've been programmed under hard work. If we want more, we got to work harder. It's not the truth. It's
right.
not.
You don't have to get lost in just the work, right? There's so many more aspects, and let's face it, if you have fun, you could probably find some easier opportunities and work with like much less stress,
100 and gazillion%. And I think that's the thing is, let's define work to be something different, something that you love to do, that you can grow into. There's this like program or perspective that people have where you have to work in order to make money. So in order to make more money, you just have to work more, right? Like there's this thing that's happening.
I don't know if I heard this or read this or seen this, but like you work to get money, to get a house, to live on the beach. to have the view of the ocean, or you could just go to the beach and like take a walk. It's the same $1 million view that you don't have to pay for at all, right? Like that's pretty amazing. So you see like the richest people are on the beach or at their house, but you could be the poorest person, still go to the beach, still get all the same emotional effects of just taking a walk on the beach. So it's crazy that you don't really need it all. But I do believe financial stability is very important, and it's your duty to try to become better in that regard, because it does. You know, the more money you have, the more you can give, the more you can help others, and the more it's comforting to be able to take care of your basic needs, and then to be able to even elevate and have a little extras, right? All right. Who would you say has been your biggest influence in your personal life?
There's so many. There's so many. I will have to say my mom.
Oh, wow. All right. For me, it's my mom too. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And why is it your mom?
Her heart, her persistence. Oh, you're gonna make me cry, Dave. Her, everything that I'm speaking is literally what she's been feeling, and the thought and the emotion that she's been holding on to is to what she's created, whether she was consciously aware or not, right?
Wow.
And our relationship goes in many directions, and to have these conversations with her now, you know, like I said, she struggled and sacrificed so much. And my father, by the way, is amazing. I used to always think that my dad was Superman growing up as a little girl. And then as I got older, I realized that he was the man behind the superwoman, right? And they both are absolutely amazing. But my mom, she looks for the good for everything. She helps people out. She will give everything and anything to anybody that she could. And all these little things that I used to get frustrated with her as a kid, you know, growing up and kind of resisting. And I realized that she's been my greatest teacher and the greatest believer in me my entire life.
Wow, that's awesome. All right. So as we begin to wrap this up, I have 2 moleskins. These are my little journals. I write quotes in here that if something ever happened to me and my son came across these are like the best of the best possible things that I could find, that I'm like, oh, I got to make a note of this. So the way I usually do it on the show is you can pick the old one, you could pick the new one. And I always believe like the right page is for you, but like I don't know, that it'll be what it is. And it's been pretty fun seeing how like different people have picked pages, and then it's been pretty amazing experience. So do you want the old moleskin or the new one?
I want the old one.
All right, the old one's a little beat up. So in the old one you have page 1 to page 33. And you can pick, like you pick a page.
1 to 33.
Yep.
18.
15. All right.
18. 1 8.
All right. So on every page, there's usually like 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 quotes. Okay.
18.
Whoa. What do you mean 18? Should I let you change it?
Well, I said 18. I thought that you said 15. I was like, no. 18.
I thought you said 15. All right.
No, 18.
18.
Yes, 18.
Wow. All right. So let's go. 18 has 4. I usually pick 1, but let's see what the top one is. That's what I feel inclined to read. If you live like the masses, then you will suffer like the masses. If you want more, you must be willing to do more. You must be willing to do what the masses won't or aren't willing to do. Wow, that's pretty good. So that was for you. Let me read the next. We're gonna read all of them on page 18. All right. What is the force? This is actually a question. What is the force for transforming the quality of our lives? Ooh, you want to answer that? Love. All right.
Energy of love. Feminine energy's here right now. Feel the love. Start loving yourself, loving on others. Right.
All right. That's a good question. Here, the next one is it. Oh wow, the next two are also questions. What propels us forward to great achievement and, more importantly, to fulfillment?
What propels us? Desire.
Desire. Yeah, I was gonna personally think. I'm thinking like internal drive, right? Which would be pretty much desire. And here's the last one. What drives us to train our bodies, improve our relationships, and boost our finances?
Again, desire.
Desire. You gotta have desire. Wow, I like that. Well, is there anything else that you want to share that maybe I didn't ask that's on your heart or on your mind that you're thinking like, oh, I want to say this as well?
I just want to say this, the last thing, which is very simple for anybody that's listening. If people are listening, your audience are listening, and they're having challenges somewhere or whatnot, we're always going to have some type of conflict or challenges or opportunities where we learn, because that's the only way that our minds can even understand anything. It's the law of polarity. If everything was great all the time, how would we even know it? How would we even know it, right? So that's always going to happen. The thing that I just want to really state is that everything you actually need is inside of you. Everything that you need is inside of you, number one. And number two, every human on this planet has a genius or many geniuses inside of them that can never be replaced. Never be replaced.
Yeah, there's like, 10 billion people, 8 billion people, and there's only one you that thinks the way you think, that acts the way you act, and that's like the most amazing thing. And I think it'd be great if more people just started accepting and truly like loving yourself for who you are and what you're not, right? Like you can't be everything.
Well, the biggest thing that holds people back is their need to look good and be right? Because they're afraid of the judgment of others. But just keep this in mind. Everybody is so afraid of judgment from others that they're walking out. No one's paying attention to you because they're thinking the same thing. So
yeah, they're in their own world.
Yeah. So that's the thing. But if you've noticed, people that judge others, the biggest thing that happens is they're really judgmental within themselves. Really judgmental. Isn't that the truth? So people that judge you, like, it's not for you. It's not your problem. You know what they think about you is not your issue. You think good about you, know that you have genius inside of you, continue to explore and give yourself permission to live the best life you deserve.
Yeah, it's like I tell my son, some people are going to think good about you, some people are going to think bad about you, right? Try to discard that. And then like what's more important is what you think about you, right? Like what do you think about yourself? How do you see yourself, right? That's more important than, because when you do great things, people are gonna be like, you're the best. When you do bad things, you're the worst. But like, do you see yourself in a good light? I think that's probably the most important thing you could teach people is like, you got to learn and push and learn and grow to believe in yourself, right? That'll change your life probably 1,000 times, make it a little bit better. Cool. Well, I enjoyed talking to you so much. I think people know where to find you. If you have any last closing thoughts, please share, and then we can wrap it up.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for, reaching out and having me on your podcast. This was awesome. I really, really enjoyed this as well. I love everything that you and your brother are doing and what you guys represent. So keep on giving you guys each other permission to continuously expand, because as you know, like think of all the people that you've impacted along your journey, right? Think of all the people you get to bring along with you. Think about all of that and everything, all of that matters. Think about what you're teaching your son and who he's becoming.
Yeah, I've gotten to this place where I just think, hey, you know, the best version of me is what I'm pursuing. And because of that, whoever needs to see it, however they need to see it, will see it. But I'm just trying to be the best I possibly can be, because it's just a good way to live my life. You know what I mean? It just helps me think better, be better, emotionally stable, and things like that. But obviously, life has its ups and downs and challenges. But if you're, like Tony Robbins says, like progress equals happiness, which is all forms of progress. Just keep moving forward, right? And that's kind of how I think about it. So thank you for that.
So true. It's so true. And I just love what you're doing. So keep on. And again, thank you. I was honored.
All right. Well, great to talk to you. I will share this, and I will send you all the copies of this material. But I really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm sure you'll be back soon enough.
Love and light, Dave. Love and light.
All right. See you soon. Bye.